Harrison Price for Monday, March 2nd, 2026. We're a presentation of Bet365, coming to you from the Nation Network studio here at the historic Wall Center. Matt Sakaris alongside Blake Price, Mike Rogerson hitting switches and conducting things. Well, after a very quiet weekend, I thought not for sure, but I thought there was a pretty good chance when we signed off here Friday that we might be called into duty by an emergency podcast, whether that was Tyler Myers finally accepting that trade to Detroit or something else happening. I got to say, I was stunned that the weekend came and went without any real NHL trades to report.
Yeah, it certainly seemed like it was destined to happen at some point, or even some just finality on the story, Matt. Even a definitive no would have furthered the story of Tyler Myers and the Vancouver Canucks. The fact that we still don't have even that, and there is reporting that it's coming in the next 24 to 48, but my goodness, nothing else really happening around the league as well. So in that regard, the Canucks are saved a little bit, and it doesn't look like they're falling behind the pace because nothing is happening. And yet, if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan, you'd certainly be hoping that this team is the one leading the pace.
Yeah, and I was a little surprised that nothing is happening around the league just because we've known the value of getting a player in early and integrating a deadline acquisition as soon as possible. It not only helps in terms of the volume of games played, but chemistry with line mates, defense pairings, things like that, because it's not like you have the number of cap-tight contenders that we've seen in previous years, right? Like the salary cap has gone up. There are a lot of teams out there that could add a huge salary, even an Elias Pettersson-sized salary, without having to make a single corresponding move for cap purposes. So that has surprised me a little bit, and particularly given, Vancouver is shopping a lot of players, St. Louis is shopping a lot of players. I mean, when we sat here last Monday, we talked about 5 or 6 confirmed sellers. I think that's up to more like 8 or 9. You got to think, where's Florida at after another loss last night? We know the Leafs have, oh my God, I watched some of that Battle of Ontario on Saturday. Bad. Leafs barely looked like an NHL team. Like their give a bleep meter was 0. Got booed off the ice. So, no, silly me, but I thought something was brewing on the weekend, that there would be a number of general managers who are like, okay, enough's enough. Especially they had that Olympic break to sit there and evaluate. Nothing was going on. Mm-hmm. Chance to talk to other GMs. Alas, no. Let's get to the daily poll question. Today asking you, trade Elias Pettersson just to get off his contract, even for low or no return. You can vote yes, you can vote no. Do so at the Harrison Price X and YouTube channels. To recap, Elias, and it's the 2-year anniversary of that extension. More on that later in the program. Elias, after this season, would have 6 years remaining on this contract. It's an $11.6 million cap hit, and it is $63.8 million in total compensation that is left after this year. We're asking this because he's benched in the third period against the Seattle Kraken. 5-1 loss to the Seattle Kraken. Did not get a shift over the final 9 minutes and 47 seconds. Had just one shift in the final 13 minutes and change. 0 shots on goal. Was not used on power play opportunities. Demoted to a fourth line with his countrymen Nils Höglander and Linus Karlsson for much of the game. He has now gone 13 contests without a goal. He met the media both after the game in Seattle, and we'll get to that in a second, and this morning prior to this game against the Dallas Stars at Rogers Arena, and it was a series of short, curt answers, not wanting to fan flames. Let's hear from him first. He was asked about living up to the contract. Here's Elias.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't? I haven't lived up to expectations of the contract, and I'll be the first one to say it. obviously I wish I would be different. I'll have play better, a lot more points, but it is what it is. I'm just trying to play a good game tonight and see what happens.
He wishes it would be better. How about instead of wishing, how about agency? How about trying to change that narrative? I'm getting a little tired of this lip service accountability, and I'd be the first to say it, and no one feels it more than me. And same old.
It's not even just this year. If it was just this year, I've got a lot more time for this. But the fact that this decrease in production has gone on for as long as it has, the fact that he's had exit ramps to this narrative by virtue of the trade of JT Müller, a full summer off to prepare and come back stronger, the fact that none of these opportunities to reset have actually represented a reset, you do now question, well, what would ever cause that reset to happen?
He was asked how difficult this season has been. Here's Pettersson.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks losing. And we're last in the league. And it's a terrible feeling, but I'm just trying to play a good game tonight and we'll take it from there.
I also hate it is what it is. No. It is what it is because of you. Yeah. You are the it. And then lastly was
he's up to date on the standings, by the way.
Yeah.
Does know they're dead last.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Also asked about the trade rumors that he finds himself in. Once more, here's Pettersson.
I mean, it's you guys who make the trade rumors, so ask yourself.
So you hear that series of answers coupled with what he had to say Saturday night after the benching, and I quote, "Coach is coaching to win the game, and whatever he decides, I'm respecting that. I've got to be better." He was asked, did Foote communicate about the benching before it happened? He said, "No, I don't need to get into details. Then that's a headline, so no comment on that, but my number wasn't called." You know,
he was then asked today, has he followed up? And he said no.
He doesn't want to talk to Pete. He doesn't want to communicate with his coach. Come on. Four coaches have said this. Can't reach him.
He also said the coach was abundantly clear. So it sounds like Foote had his say. And Elias Pettersson knows exactly what he needs to do.
So let's hear from head coach Adam Foote. Here's how he characterized it after Saturday's loss in Seattle.
Well, he didn't have his whatever it was. He's got to be better, and he knows that. He's aware of that. We need more from him, and he's got to find it. And that's what we. I'm sure you talked to him. He knows he's got to be, better for us, and I'm sure we'll see that next game.
And is there any specific area where you're looking for him to be better there, or is it just
in general? Like he's got to play with more zip, like put more pace to his game, more engaged, and good things will happen when he gets his motor going. And he's aware of it, so I'm sure we'll see it next game.
That's what we've been saying for years, though.
Second time in a week that Adam Foote talked about him playing with more pace. It's becoming the Rick Tocchet. He's got to move his feet. And I will say this, Elias Pettersson is world class when it comes to not making a headline. If he tried as hard on the ice as he does off the ice to not make a headline, he'd be Connor fucking McDavid.
Yeah, he said the headline thing a lot. And guess what, Elias? You're still in the headlines.
Making headlines because you're playing so poorly. Those are where the bad headlines are coming from now, Elias. It's not about what you say or don't say. It's about how you play or how you don't play.
And at $11.6 million, there's more pressure and there is more expectation. But I can tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, for me at the very least, if this was a guy who was working his tail off and the bottom line just wasn't there, he would be granted a lot more grace than he's getting currently, even at 11.6.
Yep.
It's on a micro scale for other players in that example, but like Connor Garland is in a world of hurt right now for production himself.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think people are necessarily questioning his effort. And he doesn't make 11.6, but it's all relative. It's all on a scale. And I think the proportions are suitable here. Mm-hmm. If you look like you're working and the bounces aren't going your way, you'll be granted some grace.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't look like you're working and you're not producing, people won't have it.
Yeah. I voted no on the poll question only because I still think there's a market for Elias. And, of course, low return is in the eye of the beholder. I'm not yet at the point where you just get him and his contract off your books because cap space isn't really the asset it used to be in the National Hockey League with the cap going up as much as it is year over year. It's not like you're in an environment like we were for a half decade where dollar in, dollar out, and you can do so much with cap space. That world is probably gone now, or at least diminished from where it was. Boy, you listen to those answers and you watch his recent games, and I think there is a case to be made. Look, just get him off the team for culture purposes. Is there really any case for keeping him when you're going to bring a bunch of young players in here and go through a rebuild? I wholly understand that. Here's where I'm at. I thought about this and went, okay, I'll get more specific. LA for Warren Fogle and their first-round pick this year, I'm doing that. Detroit for whatever bad money they want to send back to me and Nate Danielson, I'm at the stage where I'm doing that. That I consider low return compared to where Elias was at not long ago and what his market would have been not long ago. But I'm at that point.
And that's the middle ground there, because
if you consider that low, I mean,
because you don't need cap space right now. Per your point on cap space, you don't need cap space right now. But there is 6 more years coming on this, and you hope as hell to be competitive sometime in those 6 years. That's where $11.6 million in space is going to come in handy. Now, others have made and it was the first response when we posted this poll question. The very first response was a good one, saying, but guys, somebody needs to play with Stenberg or McKenna. And I thought, yep, it's a good point. And hey, part of Elias Pettersson's worthwhile response to why your numbers are terrible this year is that he does not play with any world-class players. Like, he doesn't.
No.
He plays with good players sometimes, but he doesn't really play with Boeser, really.
I mean, Boeser, Garland, and DeBrusk, there's enough NHL goal scoring
there,
think, though, Blake, that the totals have to look better than what they do.
But today's scrum with him is a reminder that while in theory Pettersson playing with one of those two great young players would be beneficial for both the young player and for Elias Pettersson, I don't think that particular personality around these young players is a good thing for those young players.
Yeah, because, again, it's lip service accountability. It's say it, but talk minus action equals nothing, right?
I mean, and just the sourpuss mentality.
Sullen, aggrieved, victim.
Yeah.
All of it.
I don't think you need that around your kid.
Getting very, very thin. Yeah. And look, I say I'm a no right now, and by the, smallest of, I would trade him by Friday for the best offer because I am very nervous at what the next 2 months could bring and where the value could go from there.
Yeah.
And Blake, you're right. There's a school of thought that, keep him at some point, he will bounce back off the 11.6 and look better and have more value. Well, a reminder, everybody, he's got full trade protection. So he would have to approve that deal. And then secondly, the downside here, and we've been having this conversation for 2 bloody years now, the downside is you are stuck holding an $11.6 million untradeable anchor of a contract where, after the next 3 years, 4 years, whatever the case may be, that is something that could be incredibly punitive to the Vancouver Canucks' efforts to build a better hockey club, a playoff team, if not a contender.
If you told me he'd never get above 72 points, but he'll never go below 60 over the balance of the contract, I'm not moving the contract. But I don't think I feel confident in that statement anymore.
No.
I don't feel confident.
I get it.
That the floor is 60 points a year. I don't feel confident.
I completely get it. Bruce Garriock reported on Friday that the Red Wings have been aggressive in their pursuit of Elias. And I saw Canucks fans going, boy, if Myers greenlights a move to Detroit, is there a chance you can make a blockbuster there with Pettersson and Myers? More on Myers later in the program. Since then, insiders have sort of poured cold water on that. Elliot Friedman reported the Canucks have told suitors they're not interested in retaining salary on Elias, and you get that. I mean, who's holding salary on it for 6 years? And I saw Ian McIntyre soft pedaling the idea of retention because that's better than a buyout somewhere down the line. The problem is the contract, the way it's structured, it's almost buyout proofable. Buyout proof. Here's Adam Kierszenblatt of the Hockey News who did the math on the buyouts. So the buyout next year would be 2.7, then 4.3, then 6.5, then $10 million
for 3 years, just for the 3 years.
For 3 years before going down to $2 million for, what is that, 5 years?
And look
so you'd be paying the guy till 2038, and most of those years would be a significant cap.
Bobby Bonilla says don't do it. And those 3 years that you're paying him over $10 million, those are the 3 years you are definitely hoping to be better in those 3 years.
Yes, that's right. They're far enough down the line, 29 to 2032.
And folks, I've gone through the exercise. Okay, what about this year? What if you buy him out in 2 years? What if you buy him out in 3 years? What if you buy him out in 4 years?
Yeah.
Your maximum discount versus just letting it ride is like $2 million off the cap. Right down to the last year. If you bought him out with just 1 year remaining, okay, great. You only have to pay 8.5 under the cap for that year versus 11.6. You want to buy him out of the last year? Sure, fill your boots, but that's still pretty punitive. All that work for $3 million in space.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, there is no exit ramp from this deal.
And the thing is if you're the Vancouver Canucks, he's had 4 coaches, and he doesn't want to listen. He doesn't want help. He wants to be left alone. I saw Chris Faber did a story about Braden Coots, who has already cultivated a relationship with the twins, Hank and Danny Sedin. There is no relationship we know of between Elias and the Sedin twins. Those are resources, star players, highly paid players, Swedish players who had a rough go in this market in their opening years because they weren't living up to expectations, worked their tails off, changed the narratives, and became beloved players and citizens. There's a roadmap there.
They also became better players. They ran, oh, crap, we're not good enough skaters.
Right.
We need to get better.
Right.
And they never turned into Blazers, but they improved their skating.
And their fitness was extraordinary. They were the 2 best fitness scorers for years.
They still might be the most fit Canucks.
Yes. No, but those are 2 guys who have been through what you've been through and can speak to you even in your own language.
And the fact that
about how to get out of this and get to a brighter day. And he hasn't sought or has resisted that sort of advice, that sort of mentorship. If he's not willing to take advantage of the tools that have been provided for him, if he is going to have the same sort of standoffishness or lack of desire to be coached through 4 coaches, what more are you waiting for?
And I'm not suggesting the Twins hate Elias Pettersson. No. But there is no special relationship there. And that was on a tee to be that, given everything you just said, the similarities, the language, all of that. It was on a tee. The baton was...
And the Twins didn't even have the 100-point season they could point to and say, no, look, at one point we were great NHL players. You were draft busts. Okay, we'll show you. We're not busts. League MVPs.
Yeah. It's the fact that we are not talking about how those 3 are peas in a pod. It says something. It says something.
He should be, honestly, he should be attached to their hips. He should be going there for dinner. He should be. Today marks the 2-year anniversary of Elias signing that 8-year contract extension with the Canucks. Remember, he didn't want to talk extension at that time. He wanted to wait till after the season until the Carolina Hurricanes came calling on him, and the Vancouver Canucks went to him and said, look, Elias, like, we've got a team that's interested for you trade-wise. That brought him to the table and had him signing the deal. They then, of course, had another window to trade him last season and going into the draft before his no-move clause kicked in on July 1st. We sweated that because, okay, he controls the destination, and that's still a worthwhile sweat, although I get the sense he might be more willing to accept trades to different places where a change of scenery and perhaps less scrutiny than what you get in a Canadian market might accompany that new team.
Where the beat writers don't manufacture trade rumors, right? Because that happens all the time.
Mm-hmm. Jeff has the stats in 135 regular season games since the contract extension. Elias has 33 goals and 61 assists for 94 points. He's that would rank third behind Quinn Hughes and Connor Garland in scoring in that span. It would rank fifth in goals over that time behind Boeser, DeBrusk, Sherwood, and Garland. Mm-hmm. So a little more than a season and a half and 94 points. I saw a lot of the commentary about Elias coming after Saturday's game. I wanted to get to this from a Canucks fan who I think nailed it here. Says, I think Canucks fans are starting to realize that this rebuild doesn't start in earnest, especially from a culture standpoint, until Elias Pettersson is traded, and I don't think fans are too concerned about the return. This roster and franchise are well past that point. And I got to say, Blake, I'm a little bit surprised because you say low or no return. We've been doing these poll questions enough to know those are triggers, easy triggers for fans to say, no, I'm against that. We're not trading on low value. We're not trading for no return. Nearly 1,500 votes into this poll question, and 65% are saying trade them for low or no return.
Yeah, and I think it's. I still am surprised at the high number, though. That number should be higher, I think.
2 out of 3 isn't high enough for you?
Oh, you said 66%?
65% are saying yes, trade them right now, even for low or no return.
That's better. I mean, I thought it was. 56.
No, my bad. If I steered you wrong.
But I think people, up until very recently, my feeling of where Canucks fans were at was that not quite the Quinn Hughes return, but if you give me something close to that, I'm willing to.
We're so far away from the Quinn Hughes.
We're just light years from
so far away from the Quinn Hughes.
Yeah.
If you were to get Liam Ogren for him right now, no, I'm serious. A former first-round pick who's playing in the NHL.
Yeah.
I mean, the Kings pick continues to get higher to the point where you can see them not wanting to part with it because their season's going down a toilet. More on them later.
So I'll say this, like in a twisted way, guys like Boeser and Garland are arguably worth more because their risk is less.
Not Boeser.
Maybe not Boeser because of the length of the contract.
Yeah.
But the others might very well be because of their youth and the fact they're actually producing sort of at the clip they're supposed to and the lower cap number. DeBrusk and Garland, surely. And so if you want to take this angle, which would you rather? A pretty much all-for-nothing trade for Elias Pettersson, just the cap relief kind of trade, the kind of thing that you just talked about?
Where you take on like a reclamation project or a risk or...
No, but would you rather have that trade or you get rid of both Brusk and Garland? It's effectively the same amount of cap relief, but you get more assets back probably by trading DeBrusk and Garland. You probably do better.
Probably Garland without trade protection and will appeal to some general managers. DeBrusk, of course, has to say yes to a deal. But no, that's probably fair. Those of you on YouTube, that super chat button is available too. We want to hear from you, especially want to hear from you this week. Hit that super chat button, make your donation, half proceeds to the BC Mental Health Foundation. We will get you on the show, always. Did you vote yes or did you vote no on the poll?
I voted yes.
Yeah.
I've lost the faith. And that's only until very recently. I was pretty
I know
50-50 on
even
the
last
fence.
week you were.
Well, more because I thought, there could be some decent assets that come back.
I am
don't think so.
holding out hope that the dearth of centers around the league, and let's remember, he's still a good defensive centerman, right? Like, he's not a zero in terms of being an NHL player. Not even sure he's a second-line center right now in terms of offensive production.
I'm not sure either.
And nobody wants to spend $11 million on a third-line center. But if you do have a team out there that has cap space, who has young players playing for cheap wages right now, and has the ability to add a salary without sending too much money back, we knew half the league was looking for a second-line center in the summer. So I am holding out hope that somebody steps up over the next 4 days here and makes a palatable offer. And yes, from the standpoint of changing a culture around a team going into rebuilding years that will be playing a lot of young players and want them to have examples to look up to, that a deal can be made for Pettersson.
The Chicago Blackhawks.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Playing with Connor Bedard. Do you get the most out of Elias Pettersson? Like, I think he needs elite line mates in order to get back any sort of offensive return here.
Yeah.
And maybe one guy's not enough. But the problem is that a lot of the other good teams that have that elite talent, they don't have the cap space. Blackhawks do. San Jose Sharks do.
Let's get to our top story. It's brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. Disappointing deadline on deck? ? 4 days out from the NHL trade deadline, the Canucks have not executed a trade since sending Kieffer Sherwood to San Jose 6 weeks ago. They have 3 UFAs to deal in Evander Kane, Teddy Blueger, and David Kampf, with aspirations to do more and trade veterans with term. But it's bottom 6 players generating more interest than the Canucks' top 6 players, according to the insiders. Stay tuned for Darren Dreger on that Irfaan Gaffar as well. With Blueger and winger Drew O'Connor seemingly more likely to move out at this moment than Pettersson, Connor Garland, or Brock Boeser. Here's David Pagnotta, and you'll want to catch David and Irf Wednesday on the DFO Insider Edition. David joined us late last week. Canucks are also in talks with some teams about Drew O'Connor, who has another year left on his contract and owns a 12-team no-trade list, and you can very much understand why. We have talked about the season that Drew O'Connor is having, and in a wretched year for the Vancouver Canucks, Drew O'Connor is upping his lot in NHL life. He's only $2.5 million as well for next season. As we've talked about, he's a big, fast, rangy forechecker type, and he's up to 14 goals on this season now, shooting a ungodly 16.3%, given where his career marks have been. But 14 goals in 59 games played, and he's got more goals than Jake DeBrusk. He's got more goals than Elias Pettersson. He's got more goals than Brock Boeser. He's got more goals than Evander Kane. He only trails the since departed Kieffer Sherwood. Kieffer Sherwood is going to hold on to his team lead in goals for damn near 2 months, unless O'Connor can get a 3 or 4 more, 3 more, 3, 4 more to move past him in the next couple of weeks.
I mean, Matt, we're into embarrassing territory in terms of leading point getter and goal scoring for the Vancouver Canucks. Like, it is.
Pettersson does lead the team with 35 points. 35
points.
35 points leads the team in 51 games. Roenick is 3 back.
Like, even in years, like kind of lost years, like right at the end of the West Coast Express, pre-Sedin thriving, like 05-06, Alex Auld, the starting goaltender. I believe he won most outstanding Canuck that year.
I believe he won something.
902 save percentage on a bad team. But even in that year, Matt, Marcus Naslund scored 32 goals, 79 points. Henrik, 75 points. Bertuzzi had 71. Daniel Sedin had 71. They were a dreadful team. I mean, dreadful's strong. They're out of the playoffs.
They had an excellent top line, West Coast Express.
Yeah.
They had a halfway decent second line, too, with the Twins.
Yeah.
And they had big, bald Alex Ault, who played over his head. No pun intended. Like Alex, he's still in town here. There's a residual matter from his days in Edmonton that teams in Evander Kane are checking in on. Dreger tells us, you'll want to listen later, watch later. Dreger tells us the Canucks thought they were going to move him last week. They thought there was a deal that was materializing, but it's now less clear if he moves at all. Things look better on Teddy Blueger, but of course, he may just be a fallback option for teams who miss out on better centers. You know, Teddy Blueger on a contending team is probably a fourth-line center. Maybe he's a third-line center for some playoff teams that are a little thin down the middle. And, of course, David Kampf may not have any trade value at all. We'll see. Jimmy Murphy in Boston is saying the Bruins have interest or have kicked tires on Connor Garland and Brock Boeser. Of course, Garland is a Massachusetts native. Anthony DeMarco adds the Bruins have 4 first-round picks over the next 2 drafts and are willing to part with some of their better prospects like Matthew Poitras and Dean Letourneau. We had mentioned this on Friday, that the Bruins have the Toronto Maple Leafs pick in this next draft. Now, needless to say, I think they're going to want to hold on to that one because that could be a very high pick with the way the Leafs are going. They also have the Florida Panthers first-round pick in 2027 as part of the Brad Marchand return last year. You remember Marchand went for a second-round pick, but then when they won the Cup, the Panthers did it, improved to a first-round pick. Letourneau, if you're not familiar with the name, was the 25th overall pick in the 2024 draft. He is having a very good season at more than a point per game at Boston College, 19 goals, and he's gargantuan. He's a 6'7", 220-pound right-shot center.
Now, somebody else has just vociferously
poo-pooed
the Letourneau part. They said that they've been told the Bruins do not want to give up on Letourneau.
Boy, that's an attractive player, 6'7", 220 right-shot center. He had a very poor freshman year at Boston College. He had just 3 assists in 36 games. So people in Boston were talking about that they took a chance on a kid who's turning out to be a big bust. Well, he was more than recast that narrative. Matthew Poitras, you may remember, a one-time second-round pick. He came up in 23-24 and did some very nice work for the Bruins with 15 points in 33 games. Then last year, again in 33 games, scored less, got sent back down to Providence, has only played the 3 NHL games this year. He's 31 in 49 games in the American Hockey League, a one-time second-round pick. Also a right-shot center, albeit without the size of Letourneau at 6 foot and 190 pounds. James Higgins is the other center there in Boston, the 7th overall pick from last year, also at Boston College, and he's going great down there as well. So they do have young centermen available, Boston, if they choose to move one.
This also just late-breaking, Friedman tying the Oilers to Connor Murphy from Chicago. Interesting from a Canucks lens because that is a tall right-shot defenseman that is of the Tyler Myers mold, but doesn't have the year, right? Myers has got the additional year.
That's right.
So it'll just be interesting to see the cost. Again, 32-year-old too, so very similar mold. We'll see what the Oilers have to pay to get Connor Murphy if that ends up happening here. But it sounds like it's very close.
I was always a little surprised that when we asked everyone that the Oilers weren't in on Myers, but I guess it's the additional. I guess that's the additional year because he does seem to be the profile of defenseman that they could use.
Totally. And he's a 13-point in 60-game tall right shot defenseman.
Penalty-killing defenseman. Right?
It's almost
now, we
identical.
talked about it, though. A lot of goals have gone in with Tyler Myers on the ice this year. I mean, he went into the weekend number 2 in the league in goals against while he's on the ice. Both at even strength and on the PK. If he had a little bit better of a year. Incidentally, the Tyler Myers to Detroit for a second-round pick offer is still good, according to insiders. You said Was it Friedman who had something to say about this morning?
He said next 24 to 48, something's going to move.
Okay.
Yay or nay?
Because at some point the Red Wings have to say, okay, we're on to other business in terms of the hunt for.
And knowing Steve
right shot
Yzerman
defense.
as
In fact,
well
if
as
you
we
told
know
me Detroit's going to land Connor Murphy in a trade today, I would not be surprised, and you would have to think that takes the Myers situation off the dock.
Given Yzerman's attitude on these things, I'm shocked that it's still on the table.
It's been out there for a week.
Yeah.
San Jose won a pair of games on the weekend, so now just 3 points out of a playoff spot with games in hand on Seattle, Utah, and Edmonton. Beat Edmonton on Saturday, actually. That was a fun game. There was a lot of goals. And did they beat Seattle yesterday?
I think they did, yeah.
But they have not yet re-signed winger Kieffer Sherwood. Everybody thought it was a slam dunk when they acquired Kieffer Sherwood 6 weeks ago that, the contract extension is coming. Mike Green and the Sharks would not do that, give up 2 second-round picks unless they knew that they were going to re-sign him.
No goals, no points in 4 games.
Yeah, coming off the injury, of course.
8 penalty minutes in the 4 games as well. Not great.
Pierre LeBrun of The Athletic is now saying the Sharks are open to moving Kieffer Sherwood if he isn't inked by the deadline. And, oh, goodness gracious, if they were to get more for Sherwood at the deadline than the Canucks got for him.
I am not confident that's going to happen.
Probably not.
If this continues, Matt, his penalties are almost the half of what he took as a Canuck in 4 games.
So what you're telling me is the Canucks swung a brilliant trade for getting 2 second-rounders for Kieffer Sherwood, given that he was hurt at the time, that he was only coming back shortly before the deadline, and now teams are having pause on whether they want to re-sign him or acquire him.
Here's my prediction. If the Sharks flip him, it will be for a single second-round pick.
It's an expensive 4 games.
Yep.
Lastly, the Canucks have waived defenseman Guillaume Brisebois for the purposes of assigning him to the American Hockey League. He may have actually cleared waivers by this stage, so some roster manipulation going on there.
Well, waivers has been going off lately.
Yeah, what are the other waiver situations? Fabry was claimed.
Fabry was claimed by the Wild. They put Pitlick on waivers. The Oilers put Mangiapane and Regula on waivers yesterday. Both have cleared.
Yeah, so nobody was taking the Mangiapane contract.
And I think they're sending them down. I think they are actually sending them down, and they're bringing up Howard and Szymanski.
Howard had earned the opportunity. We had talked about him yesterday. This is the former Hobie Baker winner, a one-time Tampa Bay top pick.
Szymanski's great too. I had Szymanski at the Spangler last year, and
Szymanski.
Yeah,
I don't even know the name.
He's a German guy. Played for the Straubing Tigers. Edmonton signs him, sends him down to Bakersfield, and he's put up 31 points in 40 odd games for Bakersfield. Big guy, 23. Still learning. I mean, I think he's
23.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's almost put up or shut up time there.
Well, no, he just arrived in North America. It's his first taste of North American hockey.
Okay.
No, I think
Szymanski.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Who knew the Oilers had depth?
Well, that was a European free agent.
Oh,
free money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
You always chase those free agents.
We're close to college free agent season. We'll be talking about them.
We will be talking
next
about
week,
them
later this week. Next
right
week.
now, I'm going to be talking to you about the Dark Magic Horchata Milk Stout. Neighborhood Brewing's seasonal dark beer is back. It is the Dark Magic Horchata Milk Stout, sweetened with a touch of lactose and vanilla, then kicked up a notch with a pinch of cinnamon goodness. It's a spellbinding concoction, and drink it while you can, while it still feels wintry out, because 2 things here, folks. A, winter's almost over.
Oh, can't wait.
And B, the darkness is about to end. Did you see what just happened?
Mm-hmm.
When we spring our clocks forward in a week's time,
yes,
that will be the last time we change our clocks.
Ever?
Ever.
I thought we were waiting for Washington, Oregon, and California to do the same.
We've stopped waiting. It's official today.
So you're going to cross the border and go back an hour?
Yep, in the winter.
Or
go to Alberta and not change.
Or does EB think when we do it, the rest will follow?
Maybe EB. But yeah, this is it. So come the winter,
EB needs a distraction. This is probably smart politically from EB.
So for the calculus,
not
folks,
a phrase one says often actually about our premier.
For the calculus, it means you'll commute in darkness in the winter, but you might be starting to make dinner with the sun still peeking out.
Yeah.
Or lightness. Sun. No sun in the winter.
He kills him.
Yeah.
I just like the fact that when we do spring forward, then I'm able to leave this show and go play 18 holes of golf. When we fall back,
Self-serving.
I'm unable to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't quite have enough time for me to get to our tee, play a 4.5 hour round, and see the golf ball.
You think in 10 days' time you'll be able to do that? I don't know about that.
Next week?
Yeah.
As soon as it springs forward, I'll be able to do that.
You think you can get them all in?
No, I know so.
Oh, okay.
Come on, Blake. I have this down to a science.
Okay.
Played golf with a nice young couple from Seattle on Friday. They were up here celebrating a birthday. And so I said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And they said, "Oh, well, we're big foodies, so we're check out some of Vancouver's better restaurants." And they had their list, and so we gave them a couple other names. And they said, "Is there anything else we should know?" And I said, "Yes. Do not mention hockey to the locals." Very sensitive time.
Still need
right
time.
now.
We still need time.
Certainly don't look a local in the eye and begin a hockey conversation if you're from Seattle. Canucks versus Dallas tonight, having lost 5 in a row and gone winless in all 4 February games. It was just 4. Dallas has won 8 straight. How many games do you think it's taken for the Canucks to win 8? Like 8 wins in their last...
Well, we know they've got 2 wins in the calendar year of 2026, and we are into month 3. Let that wash over you like a frozen lake in Finland. That's how that should wash over you. Mm-hmm. So 8 wins. How long has it been for 8 wins? I would guess
8 wins in how many games? In their last
36.
Pretty good, Blake. 35.
Whoa, really?
8 wins in their last 35 games. Home games, listen to this. Home games, they have won 23 of their last 69 home games. Exactly 1-3, 33%. 6-17-5 this year at Rogers Arena. Then there's our old friend Noah Strang. Canucks in 2026, 0.200 points percentage, so 20%. They win 1-5. Outscored 53-27, 1 goal away from being doubled up in the calendar year. They're the only NHL team without double digits in standing points in the calendar year. And of course, they would have to get awfully hot to be anything but 32nd in the NHL overall league standings.
I would love to have the truth serum here for management and ownership of the Canucks and just ask them, clearly they want the best overall odds. Of that, there is no doubt.
Rutherford has said it.
Yeah. So they do want the best overall odds. But were they hoping to walk the narrower path of having a few wins, having some good bright spots along the way while still narrowly getting that top lottery spot? Or are they just fine without stressing about that and just knowing they are dead last?
I think the owner absolutely wants home victories because his public is, needless to say, he's got to get season ticket renewals here, Blake.
I've got
They've won far too few home games.
My high school buddies have got a group chat. It's on right now. It's a pretty wide group. It's like probably 20 of us on there. Mm-hmm. One guy had tickets for tonight.
He's selling them?
Not selling them.
He's giving them.
Giving them.
Yeah.
There are no takers.
No takers.
No.
That 5-1 loss in Seattle Saturday. Their last road win. Do you remember it?
Nope.
December 29th in Seattle, a 3-2 shootout.
I was away, so I definitely wouldn't have remembered it, but it was also a long time ago.
They have lost 8 straight in regulation away from Rogers Arena, outscored 38-13. So again, 1 goal away from being tripled up by the opposition. Worst team defense in the league as well, according to Jay Fresh. They're the only team with an expected goals mark over 3.
Take the over.
There you see it. That's actually a pretty wide gap. Huh? Like, look at how tightly bunched some of the other teams are. San Jose is second worst, 0.15 better than Vancouver. I will say this. Nikita Tolopilo starts tonight. And the question is becoming, in the Canucks crease with Kevin Lankinen stinking the joint up,
are they demonstrably better with Nikita Tolopilo?
Nikita Tolopilo got an opportunity here in the final 20-some games of the Canucks season to become the starting goaltender for the Vancouver Canucks heading into the summer and into next season.
Which
I think that is possible. Of course, Thatcher Demko's health has a say in all this. But if you've totally given up on the idea that Thatcher Demko, and Rutherford messaged last week on Shannon's podcast that things are looking better, but he has said that before, and Thatcher's body's failed him.
You can't buy it.
I mean, he's gingerbread brittle, that one. Nikita Tolopilo is 14th in the league in goals saved above expected per 60. He's .981 save percentage on the low danger chances, best in the league. Now, it's a smaller sample size than a lot of the other goaltenders. I would suspect as he plays more, that number would come down. But the bottom line is, on a truly wretched team in front of him, Nikita Tolopilo is doing reasonably well, and the underlying metrics are pretty good on Nikita Tolopilo. Lankinen, meanwhile, has lost 6 straight, all in regulation. He doesn't ever deliver points for the team anymore. He's 1-10-1 with a .413 goals against and an .857 save percentage in his last 12 starts. It is really early because Tolopilo doesn't have a big sample size, as mentioned. But the thread line of Nikita, because I've got Kevin Woodley in my ear, when you evaluate a goaltender and evaluate the environment in front of him, the thread line that is starting here is that Tolopilo is better or more comfortable in this environment than Lankinen.
Goals against in the last 4 starts for Nikita Tolopilo, only one of which is a win. 3 goals, 2 goals, no goals, 2 goals. That is not what Kevin Lankinen's last 4 games looks like, needless to say. He gives him a better chance to win. He only asks, and mostly it's fruitlessly asking, he only asks they score 2 or 3 goals to get them a point in the last couple of weeks. And they just can't do it. But he's doing his job.
Yeah. The LA Kings fire head coach Jim Hiller of Port Alberni, British Columbia. They replace him with former Ottawa Senators bench boss DJ Smith. They also announced that winger, our old buddy Andrei Kuzmenko, the ex-Canuck, underwent successful surgery to repair a torn meniscus. He is listed as week to week. His loss only deepens the need for scoring in LA, who, of course, lost Kevin Fiala to that broken leg in the Olympics. They were looking for scoring to begin with. I said it a couple of weeks ago, Blake, Ken Holland at this point is a older general manager working off a different playbook than a lot of others. If he is desperate and about to do something stupid, if you're the Canucks, you want to be first in line with Elias Pettersson, hoping he does something stupid with you.
They are so screwed at the cap, though, too, so they need to get very creative, just Ken Holland.
Fogel and other bad money, come on down. Here's Elias and that first, or Elias and another.
Now, they haven't put Fiala on LTIR yet, so that $8 million will happen.
They have cap space in here,
yeah.
Whether or not they want to take on the 11.6 going forward. Port Moody's Kent Johnson a healthy scratch for Columbus on Saturday. It was 57 points in 68 games last year for the 5th overall pick in 2021. We thought, here we go. He's arrived. Another young, great, offensively gifted.
Lawrence, are you? Yeah, just
British Columbia
you done with that guy? Or?
He is down to 18 points in 56 games this season. Columbus wasn't expected to be or isn't expected to be very busy at the deadline. The word out of insiders there is they're just going to let the chips fall. They like their group. They don't necessarily want to part with a whole lot to improve their group right now. We'll see, though, if Johnson, after another healthy stretch, because this is not his first time. Early this season it happened. Last year it happened.
And they've been
you
so
do wonder
good.
if push is coming to shove with Kent Johnson.
They've been so good, and yet he hasn't been able to take advantage.
No.
So he hasn't, had his tide come in while it has for everybody else. And so, that's concerning if you want to acquire him, but it's certainly concerning for the Columbus Blue Jackets here who are wondering whether to fish or cut bait with the player. You would be tempted to say, let's cut bait. Everybody else is playing well. Why aren't you?
Number one watch, we are going to do a watch on Ivar Stenberg and Gavin McKenna coming out of weekend games. Stenberg went pointless, you're telling me?
Pointless in 2 games, yeah.
For Frölunda. Gavin McKenna, he scores the shootout winner Friday at Notre Dame to beat the Fighting Irish.
Had a helper as well.
Then he adds 2 more assists Saturday in a Penn State loss to Notre Dame. Here's our buddy Cam Robinson with some comparisons now to McKenna. Points per game by an NCAA draft eligible in the last 30 years. Adam Fantilli, Jack Eichel, Macklin Celebrini, and then Gavin McKenna, and he slots in ahead of Phil Kessel. Every single one of these players, Blake, has either been an NHL All-Star, or Fantilli hasn't yet, or projects as an NHL All-Star. So that is some exceptional company to be keeping.
And Matt, so much of that work has happened in the last 2 months here. I think in the new year we were talking about Gavin McKenna, and I caution that he's only like 4th on the team in scoring. He's the fourth highest forward in scoring on his team. Mm-hmm. He is no longer the 4th highest scoring forward on his team. He is now obliterating the rest of his teammates in terms of points per game. He's got 46 points. Matthew DeMarsico at 39 points. He's got a 7-point lead now. He has gone screaming past the rest of his teammates. It's pretty amazing.
And then there was this. This caught my attention on Friday. Connor Bedard, North Vancouver kid, grew up a Canucks fan. Macklin Celebrini, Vancouver kid, grew up a Canucks fan. Went to playoff games 2 years ago, has even said he was hoping they would rebuild and have a chance to draft him. McKenna or Stenberg this year. They hope. You've heard of Landon DuPont, the presumptive first overall pick in the 2027 NHL entry draft, a defenseman with the Everett Silvertips in the WHL. He's got 61 points in 55 games this season. He grew up in Calgary. Do you know who his favorite NHL team is?
I saw the piece.
Let's hear it from the horse's mouth.
I'm Landon DuPont, and I'm from Calgary, Alberta. Probably the Vancouver Canucks.
Apparently the case is that he was just instructed by his paternal relatives to not be an Oilers fan. You don't have to be a Flames fan, but you just cannot cheer on the Oil. And that was enough space for him to say, well, then I choose the Canucks.
What I don't get is he's, 16, 17 years old?
Yeah.
He's not old enough to remember winning.
No.
With the Canucks.
It's very odd.
And yet he is still a Canucks fan.
Quinn Hughes.
You're telling me that like 3 all-world players in a, 5-year span, Canucks fans? Got to get one of them.
Sometime.
Got to move heaven and
Won't
earth
be immediate, but sometime down the road, one of those guys is going to be wearing a Canucks.
Let's get to our menu. It's brought to you by Greta, a fantastic spot to pregame or postgame. You're just steps from the stadium or the arena. If you're planning a group outing, family reunion, team party, office work party, check out Greta, the fantastic menu of street food, unpretentious, something for everyone. Same with the arcade that encircles the bar. You got the private riser in the back. For more information to book your event, go to gretabar.com. Greta 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin, and we'll be there Saturday for a watch party against the team from Winnipeg. Canucks Army having a big watch party there. We shall gather and have some fun at Greta. We got Darren Dreger coming up, then Irfaan Gaffar, all Canucks trade deadline related later in the program. Just a fabulous victory for Vancouver Whitecaps FC, leaving no doubt as to who the best team or better team was on the pitch Saturday, if not across Canada 4 times in a row. Canadian champions. We'll talk about some other soccer-related news. Canadian women got a victory. Big weekend in local sports. Vancouver Warriors are rolling. We'll talk about the Golden Eyes, UBC Hoops, and the NFL League year getting underway with some trade activity. All of that is coming up on the show. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. I'm doing okay here. I got had Thomas Müller to score a goal on Saturday. He scored 2. So I'm going to keep it rolling by looking at Drew O'Connor. We talked about him. He could reach 20 goals this year. He could lead the Canucks in goal scoring if he stays past the deadline. And if he's like a lot of the others and just wants out, well, got to keep scoring to entice those suitors. He's plus 550 as an anytime goal scorer, Blake. I love the value there because who else is going to score for this team?
I'm going to take the over. Even though Nikita Tolopilo is in, he's kept scores down. This team is not in a good way right now. Over 6 goals pays out plus 160.
This segment, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game. Use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Darren Dreger, next. Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center. We welcome to the program TSN Hockey Insider, one half of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, Mr. Darren Dreger, who's doing all this work and so far nothing. How you doing, Dregs?
I'm doing okay. I'm not trying to be rude, but as you can appreciate, I have my phone on silent. But just as the segment gets going, I get the buzz. There's text coming in, but nothing earth shattering. So I'll try and maintain eye contact as best I can.
Feel free.
No, feel free. No, we're always like the latest breaking. So much to start with here, Dregs, but let's start with the biggest fish in the Canucks pond, Elias Pettersson, who gets benched in the third period. There had been talk late last week that things were picking up on Pettersson, that Detroit was even aggressively pursuing, according to one report. What are you hearing on Elias as of this morning?
Not a whole lot, to be honest. And that can... We always want to qualify this time here. That can change with a phone call. But frankly, I don't think that a whole lot has changed with Elias Pettersson since we talked about it on the show. And that was just an acknowledgement of renewed interest. Teams kicking tires, probably teams like Carolina, who had historic interest in Pettersson. And made their call and re-engaged prior to the Olympic break. I'm sure that continued over the Olympics, but it seems relatively quiet there. But it's quiet across the league. I mean, there's lots of calls happening, of course, and we're in that phase now where, you're literally hours away from the trade deadline. And, at some point a domino is going to drop, and all it takes is one or two of those main pieces to go, a defenseman and a forward. And now the rest of the market goes, the buyers go, okay, hold on. We thought the market was going to soften. It's not softening. And this team over here just got better. So we'd better make our move ASAP. So that's what we're hoping for. We're having this conversation on Monday. So let's see what Tuesday, Wednesday brings.
Some have tied the Red Wings to Elias Pettersson. We've already tied the Red Wings to Tyler Myers as well. What's Stevie Y cooking there? And they're a middling team right now. They're in a playoff spot, but they're scuffling a tad, and they're still a negative goal differential on the season. Does he want to make some big noise here?
Well, I believe his focus is on defense and a right shot defenseman. And, he is waiting patiently on Tyler Myers. I have not heard the connection to Elias Pettersson, to be honest. but we know that there's a deal there that could be made very swiftly with the Canucks on Tyler Myers. Myers continues to just wait out to see if another option like Dallas, as we've reported and we've speculated on, surfaces. I know that Dallas's interest in Tyler Myers. They do. The issue with Myers from Dallas's standpoint is the exterior remaining on his contract. And, that maybe shouldn't be a deal breaker, but the Dallas Stars are facing some tough negotiations next year, starting with the top of the food chain, and that's Jason Robertson. I mean, that's going to be a hefty ticket, even with the cap increasing. So, is there a way to make the money work, for next year with Vancouver, specific to Myers? And I think that's what JP Barry and Tyler Myers are waiting on. But, the clock is ticking and the alarm is going to sound Friday afternoon, and then it's game, set, and match. And, it's not like Tyler Myers is sitting there and going, I am in no way, shape, or form interested in going to the Red Wings. No, he's got a hefty amount of respect for the season that the Red Wings have had, the possibility of what that team might be able to do when they qualify for the playoffs. It's just, I think he sees a better fit and hopes for a different option, and that option would be Dallas.
How much do they love Sam Steele in Dallas? Like taking back, a guy with $2 million next year. Like, I mean, he's contributed to them, but he's not been all world for them. Like taking back a contract like that, is that what you're talking about?
Without being specific to the player.
Yeah.
I think so. If you can make the dollar in, dollar out game work, then I think that certainly heightens the interest level of the Dallas Stars. And maybe that happens, right? Maybe that happens. Hey, look, it doesn't matter if we're talking about Tyler Myers or we're talking about some bigger fish that are swimming around in the pond of speculation. Managers and clubs have to get creative. You have to get creative. And this is a lower end deal that would probably help both teams. I'm not so sure how much it helps Vancouver. I don't know what you guys think about this. I happen to be a fan of Tyler Myers, and especially where he's at this point in his career. And I know he's been an excellent mentor for Hronek, right? So I would try and move other pieces if I were Canucks management ahead of Tyler Myers. But when you're as open for business as Patrick Allvin has to be, given their circumstance, I mean, we're talking about Tyler Myers because we know there's a deal with Detroit that they could make. And, that's where they're at. And they don't have the same luxury as some of the other guys in play.
The conversation around Elias here, Darren, is getting more and more dire, and particularly Saturday's benching only added fuel to this fire. But do you know whether the Canucks are at the point where they'd be willing to accept low or almost no return just to get off Elias's 11.6 for the next 6 years?
That makes sense. Yeah. How do you do that, though? Right? I mean, I think most teams would look at Elias Pettersson's upside, and when he's playing well, he's an impactful player. But what is he, a 70-point guy? I mean, that I think that's where most clubs would have him slotted, in that 60 to 70-point range. Well, you're not paying $11.6 million for that, right? So how do you make it work? I think that there's still interest in the player, but not in taking the contract. And sure, Vancouver would want out of that deal and off that contract, but how much is Vancouver willing to retain? That's the question that has to go along with what you're saying here, Matt. Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt they'd like to get off the contract, but how willing are they to, retain money or take bad deals back to make it work?
I think it's the latter. Dregs. I think it's the latter.
You're hoping to cut the years of bad money off. If you can acquire somebody with 3 bad years, then because Dreger, 6 years left on the contract. If he can be a 65-point guy, in 3 years' time, I bet you they are paying 65, 70-point guys $11 million. I mean, something close to it anyway. And with the or percentage of the cap, it starts to get closer to that, the farther you go. But again, that's with the assumption that he remains a productive player. And I think there's a lot of people that don't really feel comfortable with that assumption. So,
yeah, but that's in Vancouver, right? And if you surround him with better players, not that he hasn't been given an opportunity with the Canucks, because he has. But, I mean, there was a little bit of blowback on the suggestion last week that, Brock Boeser was in play. Well, I mean, only because Brock's name, as he, acknowledged, always seems to be out there around the trade deadline. But you do have to give the players the benefit of the doubt in this as well. When Boeser signed that contract on July 1st, 7-year extension, did he think that the Vancouver Canucks were going to be a draft lottery team? Of course not. Of course not. And, if you're a team that would express interest, and I don't think that there's been a lot, and that's not an indictment on Brock, it's just put Brock in the category of Pettersson, maybe even Connor Garland. Teams aren't tripping over for those players. I look at Boeser, though, as being a productive player in the postseason. And that's why a team would have interest in him. And I don't think, even though, he can deny whatever he wants. I mean, is he interested in locking in for the remainder of this deal or the next 3-4 years on a team that is going to struggle mightily? That's not what he signed up for. So that's where a lot of this, but, in fairness to him, until somebody presents him with a change option, he's a Vancouver Canuck. And he's not going to rattle the cages and demand a trade or any of that. No, I just think if there was a fit out there that made some sense with a playoff team, I think he'd be certainly open to consider that.
Ray used to always say that he never, as a veteran, kept track, look forward to the draft, and the players don't do that. They don't know who's coming in next year.
No.
But, and not that Pettersson would be thinking this, but management might. Like, does Gavin McKenna or Stenberg, do they need a highly skilled cerebral player like Elias Pettersson on their line? Does Pettersson ultimately benefit from playing with another player with high skill like that? I mean, is there...
Yes. Yeah. Yes and yes. Just look at what Connor Bedard has gone through with the Chicago Blackhawks. Kyle Davidson tried to surround him initially with veteran players like Taylor Hall and Foligno and guys like that. And right out of the gate, it just didn't work. It didn't. Now the Chicago Blackhawks are better because they've got better players, and Connor Bedard is continue to mature as a budding star in the National Hockey League. But I think as a management group, you have to be mindful of that. These players are stepping into the National Hockey League. Gavin McKenna isn't going back. Well, I don't think he's going back to Penn State after, being drafted, especially if he goes first overall. Well, we saw how difficult it was for McKenna to make the jump to Division I hockey from Major Junior, where he was a lockstep standout. He was stellar in the Western Hockey League. So we've seen historically what that leap is like and how difficult it is to transition for those young players to the NHL. So it's always in the best interest of the team to make sure that you've got them insulated.
So you're saying all quiet on Garland and DeBrusk as of this moment.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, again, a lot can change with a phone call. If we shift to a former Canuck real quick, you just kind of tweaked a thought here. I think that the situation with Kieffer Sherwood is going to come to a head in San Jose pretty quick here. In terms of, all right, well, are we going to talk extension and get something done? Or, if you're Judd Moldaver, do you offer to help to manufacture a deal out of San Jose, which is, it's a head scratcher for me. I don't get that one because it's not like Mike Greer wouldn't have had conversations with Judd about what an extension for Kieffer Sherwood would look like when he made the deal with the Vancouver Canucks. But, if that player is in play, then it gets a little bit more interesting.
I swear to God, if they get a first-round pick for him, Dregs, this market is going to absolutely ignite.
Well, he hasn't done it. He can't be worth more now. He hasn't done anything with San Jose, really. So
not a lot. No, not a lot.
The irony here is you were telling us it's busier around the Canucks' bottom six forwards than it is around their top six forwards. Tell us about Drew O'Connor and Teddy Blueger.
Yeah, I mean they're depth pieces, right? When you see and watch the game that Drew O'Connor plays, I think some deeper teams around the National Hockey League, playoff worthy teams would look at him and go, "Hey, if he's slotting in on our fourth line, we like how responsible he is. We like the character of the player, and he'd be a good add." Now, don't misconstrue what I'm saying here. I wouldn't say that teams are knocking down doors to get to Teddy Blueger or Drew O'Connor, but they like the makeup and the character of these players, right? And you're always looking for depth in those areas, and they're cheaper. The expected rate of return isn't going to blow your doors off in the process either. So, I'm sure Patrick is getting a decent amount of interest in those two guys.
Yeah, Blueger seems like a no-brainer. Evander Kane, less so. It looked like pretty promising for a while. Now, with every day that goes by and Evander Kane isn't traded, I get a little more skeptical.
I'm with you. And I think I said it last week. I actually thought Evander was going to be traded last week. I think the Canucks were hopeful that he was going to be traded last week. And, the teams swirling around included Dallas, Colorado, Tampa Bay, Carolina, those sorts of teams. They could all circle back. But I think because we're starting the week now, the game of poker is intensifying. So even though, we've seen again in the past, Evander Kane be a real good fit in a short window. And that's what he's playing with, right? To the end of the year. I think that there are clubs that are looking around and going, okay, well, let's before we go over there, let's see what else is available and whether or not that changes in the next couple of days. So, if you've waited to this point, you might as well wait a little bit longer on Evander Kane. I mean, Vancouver isn't waiting, to hit a certain mark on trading this player. I think they'd trade him in the next 5 minutes if somebody would step up and make an offer.
All right. Well, it's a busy week, or at least it should be a busy week. I mean, I guess the good news for us, we sit here on Monday, is right now Duthie's going to have a hell of a show on Friday.
Yeah.
He's got 4 more days to get through, but now
that early bird trading season hasn't happened.
Won't need any monkeys. Won't need any funny games or anything like that. You might have some real hockey news. Well,
Maggie is now the second most famous macaque.
After Punch.
Yeah. So
there will be a flurry, and whether it's today, tomorrow, Wednesday, don't know. But I do think for the first time in a long time, there is going to be stuff to chew on. Right.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks to the standings, too, how gummed up it is and teams responding to what other teams are doing. So Friday should be fun.
Enjoy it. Thanks
Pleasure.
for this.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
So Carson Price from the historic Wall Center, and we welcome in Irfaan Gaffar, co-host with Jeff on Rinkwide Vancouver, and, of course, the DFO Insider Wednesdays here on the Nation Network with David Pignotta. So busy week for you, fella. Thanks for making time. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Good. So just saw your tweet. Let's start with this. Let's bring his tweet up. Myers at this point continues to think about his options. I'm not sure how patient the Wings are going to be waiting around. Odds besters moved are low. Garland is in play. Little to no action on Pettersson DeBrusk. Teams looking at advance UFAs considering waiting until Friday. Let's pick up on Boeser and on Garland because Jimmy Murphy in Boston is saying the Bruins are considering both of those guys. What do you think about a potential fit for one of these Canucks wingers in Boston?
Let's start with Connor Garland. He's from Massachusetts. I mean, that's obviously the easy one. I think that, people around him know that if there was anywhere that he would like to go, it would be home to the Boston Bruins. The Brock one's interesting because Brock would have to waive. And I'm not entirely sure that Brock would for that fit for him. If it is going to be Brock, it would have to start with Protas from the Boston Bruins. Matthew Protas, who's a young center iceman, 21 years old, I believe. I think that that's where it would probably have to start. But again, these are things where guys hold all the cards. And I'm like I said, I think it's very low. I said it last week, insanely low. I still believe that the Boeser situation is going to be very low as well. I can't see it happening, but you never know. I mean, this is let me put it this way. I don't think Boeser and Garland are their priority right now in guys that they're trying to move.
Was it 2 years ago Poitras had that great start, that great debut, but it has waned since then on Matthew Poitras.
Why don't you think they're the priorities right now?
I think that it's the UFAs, it's Tyler Myers, and it's a guy like Jake DeBrusk, maybe if they can get anything for him. I just think that those guys, looking at Brock Boeser, the situation has to be perfect before you even take it to him, whether that's the offer you like or even just a fact of knowing that he's going to waive. That situation you have to nail it before you take it. Just like the Myers situation. They got the offer they liked, and then they said, okay, let's go to him because this is a great scenario. I'm not entirely sure they get that for Brock.
Well, yeah. Boeser waives for Minnesota unquestionably, right? Like, is that
probably?
Yeah. How many more do you think he would waive for, Irf?
There's probably a couple. I mean, look, I think it's fit. I think it's where he wants to grow his family. I think that a guy that's just recently got engaged, obviously, has a place here now in Vancouver. Strong roots here, wants to have roots here. All come into play. The Minnesota angle completely changes things. Obviously, that's home for him. A very near and dear special place to his heart. But beyond that, unless they go to him with this offer and say, listen, dude, like, you are not a part of this anymore. This is how we see it. If you're either going to help us here, try and get younger and better. If you love Vancouver this much, you're going to do this for us. At that point, Brock still might do what Tyler Myers does and be like, I'll think about it. And then maybe yes, maybe no.
Well, yeah, I mean, you still have the cards. You don't just you don't give them carte blanche to send you anywhere in the NHL. So I get that, and the places that you might want to go, maybe they don't want you. So it's a difficult fit for a guy with the full no move clause. Obviously, the 5-foot putts, the UFAs. What's your confidence level?
Wait, they were 3-foot putts last week. Have they extended because the weekend has gone through and they're getting longer putts?
He's a smart man.
Don't make these 10-foot putts on Friday.
You're right. That's a great.
You miss more of your 10-foot putts than you make.
So they miss
this guy.
The 3-footers are 5-footers now. How many of the 5-foot putts can they make this week here before they become the proverbial 10-footer on Friday?
I think I said on Rinkwide, I didn't say the putt angle, but they're at the free throw line with these guys, right? Like they are. I mean, you look at it, you can almost, it's got to be an automatic for Blueger. It's got to be an automatic for a guy like Kampf. Like, there's got to be someone out there, someone that wants them. Evander retained probably gets you something, and that's the interesting one for me. But again, like I mentioned, I don't think that there's a rush for teams that are looking at the Vancouver Canucks right now with their UFAs or their current players on their roster that's like, we got to get this done before the deadline because someone else is going to come and swoop in. A lot of teams in the National Hockey League have a David Kampf on their roster. A lot of teams in the National Hockey League, probably got a guy like Teddy Blueger. Yes, he could add something, but are you going out right now, this early in the week, before the trade deadline to give up an asset, which probably could be less of an asset once the deadline day comes on Friday?
Do you think prices are going to go down as the week goes on?
Yeah, I do, because there's no one that's there's no one that's rushing to come and do it right now.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm the Dallas Stars and I know that the Canucks have a 2nd-round pick for Tyler Myers right now, currently on the table, whether Detroit has pulled that or whether they're like, that's enough for us now. We're tired of waiting. We have to move on to plan B or C. That is completely still up in the air. But if I'm the Dallas Stars, I'm not offering anything close to that.
Well, the Dallas 2nd-round pick is actually
before Friday.
The Dallas 2nd-round pick will be a worse pick, presumably.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think that the Canucks would even I don't even think the Stars would even entertain that. I think it would be a 3rd or 4th, if that. And the Anaheim Ducks, I don't think that there has been an actual offer. I just think that they've been interested.
Dallas doesn't have its 3rd. It has Seattle's 3rd, though, which will be decent.
As of this minute, the Detroit pick in the 2nd round would be 55, Dallas 60, Anaheim 61. But, of course, playoffs will have a big say in some of that. Dregs told us, and you're hearing the same, like, things are picking up around Drew O'Connor, right? People are recognizing that this is a good player who's having a very good season and has some tools he can bring to the table.
At a low freight.
Yeah, at a very digestible contract, both this year and next. Tell us on Drew O'Connor.
Just go back to the last 5 or 6 games. I mean, we've all sat here and watched them and have to talk about them. Drew O'Connor's on the ice and more noticeable than many of their players night in, night out. And for a guy in a team that's looking to get rid of some assets and maybe, get rid of someone and try and get some assets back, Drew O'Connor's a perfect piece. He's a guy that can play anywhere in the lineup, up and down, scores, plays hard, doesn't take silly penalties. He's a guy that can be very serviceable, whether it's being a contender or a team that's, in that young position, whether on their way to contention there at some point. I do think that Drew O'Connor's definitely a serviceable player for any team. And for the Vancouver Canucks, that's a good thing. That means that you've done a good job with this player. That means that he's grown here as a player for him to go and be able to try and get you something back. Like, there's nothing wrong with trading Drew O'Connor if you're going to get something for him.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think they might be inclined to trade O'Connor because of the lack of interest in the other forwards? Like, is that what it comes down to for the Canucks as well?
Well, I mean, if they're like we said, there are layups right now, and you should be able to make them. But if they're not, then you got to go to the 3-point line. And Drew O'Connor, might be a 3-point guy. Like they got to take their shots from somewhere, right? Like, this is a huge week for this organization. Number of people have told me there's a lot of stuff going on. They think they're in on everything. If we sit here and are having the same conversation on Monday or Tuesday next week about this team not doing nothing, and we're going to be fed by whether it's Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford saying that we were in on everything and deals didn't make sense, why did they not make sense? Like that's the thing that I will fail to understand. You're not good enough to get the offers that you think you're going to get, so try and get something.
Before we get completely lost in all of our metaphors, let me ask you this. Yeah. How much pressure do they feel to make sure that they have ink on their ledger by the end of the week for anybody? Is the fact that they're getting to Drew O'Connor, even though we've talked about Drew O'Connor for a long time, but is that proof of, are they just opening up the jacket with all the watches and just going, what do you like here? Anything. Do you like anything you see here? Because if they don't make a deal, if they don't make 3 deals,
they don't make a deal.
It is going to not look favorably on them.
Blake, they opened the jacket in November when Jim Rutherford messaged every GM in the National Hockey League, and then the guy that was traded was the captain of the team, and then they traded Kieffer Sherwood. That's it.
And the league looked at all of them and said, "Those are fugazis. Those are not the real deal. I'm not buying them."
Exactly. And then you look at it now. I mean, look at a guy like Connor Garland. I think he's definitely in play. I think that there's a lot of the teams that are going to be interested in him right now. And if you're the Vancouver Canucks and you have any sort of interest where you're going to get a potential return for this player, you have to cash in now before July 1st hits and he's like, I'm only going here. And then you're handcuffed once again. But I agree with you. Like, everything is open. There's pressure for sure. They know what they have to do. They aren't naive. They know they're not going to be competitive in the next couple of seasons. If the golden ticket is Gavin McKenna, first of all, got to get the pick and win the lottery. But secondly, you have to find players and people to insulate this guy around. Who's the center iceman that's going to give him the puck every game? Is it really going to be Elias Pettersson? Yep. Is it going to be Marco Rossi? Like, there were holes in this roster last summer, and the holes have gotten deeper as we've gone and continued this season.
Yeah, and the pool of sellers, I think, has gotten bigger here even within the last week. So that adds another interesting and potentially more problematic wrinkle. Just on Myers, because he hasn't said a definitive no. It just seems like he would prefer another Western market. But, of course, on July 1st, he's down to a 12-team no-trade list, right? And then all of a sudden it's 19 markets where he can be freely traded, and some of them may look worse than Detroit. Do you think it's the Myers camp's intent to take this down to the final hour whenever Detroit is willing to, wait it out until and say yes at that point? Like, is that how this is tracking? Or, do you think it's more likely a no on Detroit, and he'll take his chances July 1st in that pool of 19 teams?
I mean, if he wanted to be on the Detroit Red Wings, I'm pretty sure he would already be on the Detroit Red Wings. Like, yes. I think that decision would have already have been made by now. The guy,
that's fair.
We've been talking about this situation when I think the news broke last week. Was it Wednesday? when it came out that, Tyler Myers and Detroit Red Wings, there was that. Myers had known about that for a few days before it even came out. So it's been over a week now where Tyler Myers has had this option for him. Now, whether he's gone to the Canucks and said, okay, I'd be interested in the Dallas Stars, and then the Anaheim Ducks have come in, those are completely different. I think that this is going to go down to probably deadline day if he does in fact make his decision on paper saying, Detroit's out. I don't think that's going to be a fit for me and my family. And again, he's earned that right. It's in his contract. There's just things here that, obviously suit him a lot better. But it gets into the situation now where it's a little bit awkward. Like, he's probably not playing tonight, or we don't know at the time that we're doing this. We're unsure if he's going to be in the lineup tonight. On Wednesday, is he going to play? And then what happens if he's not traded on Friday? Like, does he go to Chicago and they're like, okay, Tyler Myers is now right back in the lineup like nothing has changed? That's going to be the interesting thing.
I was thinking about that yesterday. If not Chicago, then next Saturday in Winnipeg, he just goes right back into the lineup. I think that's the case. And I would be most interested to know if he's okay taking his chances on July 1st or beyond. Of course, the other thing we should say is this is not a deadline for Tyler Myers because, of course, there could be a move in the offseason before July 1st, which, again, would require his full approval with that trade protection. Anyways, okay, you in with Jeff tonight and Wednesday or just tonight? Tell us about your week, Irf. What you got to promote here?
I think we're in with Jeff. Yes, tonight. Yes, on Wednesday. Insider, we're trying to figure out, likely Wednesday, could be a live show Thursday. We're trying to figure that out as to what we want to do with it. Let me ask you this before I leave. I was on with Convo. They said over under 3.5 trades by the time the deadline hits Friday.
We had a listener.
I took the under.
We had an audience member put that to us. I think 3.5 is absolutely the number here, the total, the over under. God, I hope it's more, but the longer this goes, I'm worried.
Last week I was on the over because I thought Myers was in the back pocket already, and they only needed 2 more to.
I'm going under.
Hey boys, nothing is done with this team until it is in paper and the release is out. Let's just put it that way.
Hey, what about practice facility? You up on anything there? Have you heard any news pertaining happening?
Continue with our betting theme and take the under on that one.
Did you see the Blackhawks' new one? Looks pretty nice.
I did see the Blackhawks' new one. Yeah. Look, there's a lot of beautiful facilities in and around the National Hockey League for National Hockey League teams, and you hope that this summer or whatever they figure it out and try and get something, at least ground broken or at least something in the positive direction.
Why don't they just? And I know it's not exactly the heyday of condos right now, but in their next big development, like big towers, just dedicate a number of floors to a practice facility.
Well, that's what should have happened on the Concord Pacific land if they were able to secure that, is you do an arena for 4 or 5 stories, and then you do 20 stories of tower.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
There we go. We figured it out.
Yeah.
Thanks, Irf. Have a great week.
All right, gentlemen.
Secure some price from the historic Wall Center and the Nation Network studio built by Arbor Lee. Tickets secured, hotel solved. Make the Wall Center your downtown headquarters for every big game concert and rivalry night. See what's happening at wallcenter.com. Vancouver Whitecaps FC were magnificent Saturday in a 3-1 win over Canadian rivals TFC before 24,533 at BC Place. I was telling you off air that the Whitecaps may be my favorite Vancouver team that we've covered, certainly since the Twins-led Canucks teams of more than a decade ago. I just thoroughly enjoy watching them play now. I thoroughly enjoy the effort they put forth on a nightly basis. I love the fact that guys just improve, demonstrable improvement week to week. And, of course, the results don't hurt either. They do a lot of winning. They don't do a lot of losing. They are now 3 wins and 1 draw on this early season. All the victories by escalating scores. Take a look at this because they started 0-0 with that draw against CS Cartagenas. Then it was 1-0. Then it was a 2-0 win. This weekend it was a 3-0 win over Toronto. They have not allowed a goal yet this season. Takaoka has been perfect for them. And very much like the beginning of last season, when the Whitecaps launched like a rocket and banked all those points that came in handy down the stretch, you're seeing that again. They are once again getting contributions from a deep lineup and bench of players who are improving and changing their own personal narratives about where they fit in career-wise and their potential. Thomas Müller with a pair of goals, Sebastian Berhalter with a pair of assists off corners. Brian White scores the 80th goal his 80th goal as a Vancouver Whitecap, and that moves him into second place all time in the club's extended, not just MLS history.
And it means that there's no concerns about the Whitecaps. If there was going to be any concerns, even if they had won that game 2-0 without the Brian White goal, I would have been concerned about the lack of goals for Brian White.
Because he had gone 6 or 7 without a goal here and had missed some easy chances. And so you're sitting there going, okay, as he stopped being that clinical striker, well, he pots a goal. This game was over at halftime. Take a look at the stats here at halftime. Toronto barely saw the ball. I mean, it was all Whitecaps in the first half.
0.00 XG with no shots, and needless to say, none on target. The 39% possession almost fools you into thinking they were closer than they were. They were not close.
No, they weren't. They went offside 5 times now.
They were happy to concede possession, and they are not a team that is capable of a counter right now. It's got to be very concerning for Toronto fans because they put a lot of money.
Their problem.
Yeah.
Not our problem.
Well, they just brought in the most expensive incoming player of all time, Josh Sargent.
Who's not even that big a deal. He's not a bloody big deal like Jermaine Defoe.
Who was $10 million to bring in. This is $27 million to bring in.
For a guy who wasn't all that great at, was it Norwich?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was good, but not great.
I also thought Paul Dolan was marvelous on the Apple play-by-play color. Even dropped a quick shout-out to Jim Robson. If you missed it, he'll play. You know he'll play. Did you notice that in the moment?
I did, yes.
I messaged him. I was like, nice Robson tribute on the broadcast. Play-by-play guy was okay, too. Newcomer, AZ Jackson, acquired in a trade, scored this season. He has looked dangerous off the wing. He started for the suspended Kenji Cabrera, and it's not like there was a drop-off there.
Injured. Did you say suspended?
Oh, sorry, injured Kenji Cabrera. Yeah. Right. Sabby was suspended for the match. He's sort of reminding me of Jaden Nelson, and not just because they look similar, little skinny guys with big hair. But you remember Jaden Nelson early last season brought that energy and that enthusiasm. He was loving life in a new place, and it shone through, and I think it was infectious with his teammates, and you're seeing that a little bit with AZ Jackson as well. Surrey's Jeevan Bodwell has been a revelation. Is he this year's Sebastian Berhalter? I ask again. Started at wing after starting at attacking midfield in previous games. It is clear that Jesper Sorensen, who said he, quote, had an amazing training camp and preseason, it's clear that Jesper Sorensen has himself a new toy, and it's the kid from Surrey who was opening ice. 90% pass rate on the year.
He was good. I thought that, honestly, it was a very weird game because of how thick the block was on the center stripe of the pitch, that things didn't go through Kubas or Berhalter or Bodwall, all the usual distributors. The ball came from Priso and Blackman. Because they needed to get over all the mess of bodies. It was like this thick stripe right at the center. And so the amount of touches, and we had this at the stat was at the 20-minute mark already, 39 touches for Blackman, and he had fewer than Priso. The center back, and this is what having a distributing center back can do. Not all center back. We talked about Kendall Waston a couple of weeks back. Like, that's not a guy that was distributing the ball.
No.
But both Blackman and Priso can distribute the ball so well that if they try to neutralize your midfielders, those two guys are just like, okay, we'll do it then.
Priso, a former midfielder, right? So, they were outstanding. JC Ngondo looked good in relief of Thomas Müller.
Underrated player, that guy.
And we saw the first of newcomer, and I heard you pronounce his name differently than I pronounce it, so I'm going to give you the floor here.
Shek Sabali?
Shek.
Yeah.
Okay. Czech
Sabally.
Yeah. I think I called him Czech Sabali last week. Czech Sabali, who's a former League One player in France, and he'll play for Senegal here at the World Cup. Like, he's that embedded in their international team.
Well, embedded, I don't know, but he just
played
helped them
for
win
Senegal.
that AFCON. So.
Yeah, exactly. So he's an up-and-comer as well. Caps now play their only MLS road game between now and May down the I-5 against Cascadia rivals Portland. That's Saturday against the Timbers, 7:30. Next home game is a week from Wednesday. It's versus the other Cascadia rival, the Seattle Sounders, in round 2 of the CONCACAF Champions Cup tie. First game here in Vancouver. Second game in Spokane. The Sounders are moving that game to Spokane.
Portland just coming off 2 weeks ago in their opener. They beat Columbus in their opener at home, but they beat Columbus. That's a good team. So Portland, they're going to have the attention of the Whitecaps.
The only thing that is going against the Caps in the early going, Blake, you'll remember last year at the beginning of the season, not only was Vancouver winning all its games, but a lot of Western Conference teams were losing its games to Eastern Conference teams. You know how you play a lot of the other conference early in the season.
That has not happened this time.
There is, 5 MLS West teams, I believe, that are 2-0 on the season. The MLS West has thus far dominated.
Well, and they have three more teams that are 1-0-1. Eight Western teams have not lost yet.
Yeah. So it looks like it will be tougher competition in the West, at least in the early going here. Canadian women's national team needed a win, and they got one in a big, big way. 4-1. They destroy number 20 Colombia in Nashville in the opener of the She Believes Cup. Canada faces number 2 in the world, USA, Wednesday in Nashville, so really needed this one to snap a 5-match losing streak and get back in track. They didn't score a goal in those 5 losses to close out 2025. So good on the Canadian women's team. 4 different goal scorers there as well. After the USA, they play Argentina next weekend, and they're even lesser ranked than Colombia. So a good opportunity to go 2-1 there, get some wins, getting the ladies feeling better about themselves.
They don't need to beat the United States, but they need to score against the United States, and it needs to be a close game.
I want to see it be competitive. Yeah, this
like
game is on Wednesday. It's on TSN. I'm going to watch
I can
this.
handle that, but
Absolutely.
They need to score.
Yeah,
and they need to keep it close.
On the men's national team side, Glasgow Rangers manager Danny Roll says it appears unlikely that the Canadian men's team will see center back Derek Cornelius in the March window. Cornelius is still weeks away, he said, from rehabbing, let alone seeing the pitch for a full 90 minutes. This is the ex-Whitecaps center back who's on loan to the Rangers. He underwent surgery in November. He's played left back and can play left center back. He's a left footer for the Canadians.
And again, Alfie Jones is injured. Moise Bombito coming off his fractured leg. Like, the center back position is a massive concern. I think it's quite conceivable Ralph Priso plays for the national team as a center back in the March window. I think it's quite conceivable.
And 1 week after we wondered the state of World Cup matches in Mexico after civil unrest and cartel activity on the streets of Guadalajara, we are now asking about the Iranians' desire to play matches in the United States at the World Cup. Tensions escalating following U.S. missile strikes on Iran. FIFA has already had a meeting on this. Their general secretary saying, quote, I read the news about Iran this morning the same way you did. We had a meeting today. It is premature to comment in detail, but we will monitor developments around all issues around the world. Iran is scheduled to open its World Cup on June 15th versus New Zealand at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. They play the Belgians there, scheduled 6 days later. And then their final Group G match is scheduled for June 26th against Egypt at Lumen Field. And there was already a reason why the Iranians would want off of that date or off of that city. It is Pride Day in Seattle. Iran and Egypt both had requested to FIFA that they don't schedule games around any kind of activities that doesn't align with country values. So we'll see. Is there a world where BC Place could actually find themselves hosting more World Cup games than originally scheduled, if not because of the Mexican unrest, then because Iran simply not wanting to play within the boundaries of an enemy hostile state, right?
The Iranian minister is actually just saying we may not send the team. And that gets complicated too, Matt, because guess who's next up? Iraq, who are in a complicated relationship with what's happening here. They have a big Sunni Muslim, Shiite Muslim, population in Iraq as well. So there have been protests outside the embassies of these countries in Iraq already. And the UAE is the other possibility. That's the third place team in the conference. And, there's really nobody in the Middle East that isn't being affected by what's happening in the last 72 hours. So it is complicated. And I don't know that there is a comfortable solution. This isn't 2 years down the road, folks.
No, it's 100 days away.
This is
100
weeks
days away.
Like, oh, my goodness.
Didn't he just establish a board of peace? What happened to the board of peace?
Change the spelling of board. B-O-R-E-D.
New NFL league year begins later this week, and the Houston Texans have been awfully busy here, making a pair of trades. They sent offensive tackle Titus Howard to Cleveland for a 5th-round pick. Cleveland's entire starting offensive line is entering free agency. Welcome back, Deshaun Watson. Here you go. And then they later trade for Detroit Lions running back David Montgomery, giving up a 4th-round pick, a 7th next year, and offensive lineman Juice Scruggs. Pretty high price to pay for a running back these days. Montgomery had been mentioned as a fallback option for Seattle if Kenneth Walker leaves in free agency, and a lot of the insiders are now pointing to what Captain Greg Bell told us right after the Super Bowl, that there will be a very hot market for the Super Bowl MVP, and Seattle might have already missed its chance to re-sign this player by not actively negotiating more during the season. So we'll see where that goes. Aaron Jones being released by the Minnesota Vikings. He's been a serviceable back for both Minnesota and Green Bay in his career. Maybe he's a fallback option for the Hawks if they can't get Walker re-signed. It's also, Blake, not a particularly strong class of running backs at the draft. The Combine went this weekend. There's a terrific back, like a Saquon Barkley-esque back, Jeremiah Love, at a Notre Dame. People expect he'll be a top 10 pick. His understudy, Jadarian Price, excellent running back from Notre Dame. People think he'll be a 2nd-round pick. Beyond that, it's a little more murky in terms of how many good quality, starting or even co-starting running backs there are in this class. So Seahawks going to have some work to do there. Luckily, they have John Schneider.
Do you know what will happen to them if they're like 1-2 after week 3 and the running game isn't very good? Do you know what they'll be labeled then? Super Bowl champions. It just doesn't matter, Matt. They're the Super Bowl champions. Who cares?
Yeah, Blake's big on this. All of next season is gravy for the Seahawks.
It doesn't matter.
They could go 4-13 and no one would care. People would still be sus.
Super Bowl champs.
We played golf with a couple from Seattle on Saturday. I'm like, boy, things have been pretty festive in your town. And they're like, boy, it's like the whole city, it's just on a big high. Everyone's so happy. So unexpected.
I had this thought the other today, driving to work today.
Even traffic is better in Seattle these days.
For some reason, I was just thinking about this on the drive to work today. I was like, it wasn't really that close. Like the Seahawks. No, I don't even mean in the game. I mean, it's generally in the playoffs and down the stretch.
No, it wasn't.
Like they just romped to a Super Bowl.
Well, there was that Thursday night game against the Rams that they kind of had no business winning. But when they won that one, it got pretty easy from that point forward. They kind of left San Francisco in the game a little longer than they should have in the final weekend of the regular season. But
they're just playing with their food a little bit.
That's true. We said it was an important weekend for the Vancouver Warriors, and they delivered too. 2 road wins in Las Vegas and San Diego, improved to 9-3 on the season, tied for 2nd place in the NLL with Colorado, just a half game back of Saskatchewan. Keegan Ball had 9 points in a 14-10 victory over Vegas on Friday. And then the superstar goaltender, Christian Del Bianco, he makes 44 saves. He adds 2 assists in a 9-7 win at San Diego yesterday. Vancouver is back home on Friday, hosting the Canadian rival Toronto Rock. Things are looking very good for the Warriors to go on another postseason run. Of course, they made it all the way to the final last year. Now, they do have some big games coming up against quality teams, Georgia, Buffalo, Ottawa. But as of right now, things are really humming for the 9-3 Warriors. Good on them. And the Golden Knights. They fell 2-1 to Toronto yesterday at the Pacific Coliseum, 13,000 in attendance. That team, kind of like the Canadian Women's Olympic team and the Vancouver Canucks, could really use a finisher or two.
Yeah, they're a little bit low on goal
They
scoring.
don't score a whole lot of goals. They're now down to 7th in the PWHL standings in their inaugural year. They are home to Boston a week from tomorrow. That is the second of a 5-game.
They were really banking on a Renaissance Sarah Nurse season, and it hasn't happened for them. And of course, Sarah missed so much time as well. So,
I caught a little bit of the game yesterday. They had a drought there in terms of shots on goal in the second period, but they wind up with I think it was 26 shots on goal, just the one goal. Need to finish a little more. But I'll say this, the appetite for Golden Knights hockey, PWHL hockey, remains very strong. I saw Steve Ewan and others taking photos of the concourse yesterday, and they are turning out some very nice crowds, and everybody's saying the Coliseum looks beautiful.
And you hope that's the case after such a long absence of home games.
It's a honeymoon year. It's a honeymoon year for them. If it doesn't wind up being the playoffs this year for them, so be it. They've introduced professional women's hockey to Vancouver. They're doing good crowds. They're finding their niche in terms of where they fit in on the sports consumer market. They have priced concessions reasonably to entice people to come out. I know we had some early Golden Knights. What's Golden? I think their merchandising looks absolutely beautiful. They just got to find a goal scorer or two. Coquitlam's A.J. Ewart earns $182,000 for his tie for 13th at the Cognizant Classic down in Florida. As Brad Zemer notes, he's had an impressive rookie season here on the PGA Tour. He's made 4 of the first 5 cuts. Of course, he was a surprise winner to get into the PGA Tour this year and get his card at that qualifying event. His 64 on Friday had him right there, just off the lead. But a last shot 72 on Sunday, and that wasn't good enough to maintain station when you had a lot of other guys going low on a reasonably difficult golf course, though, it must be said. The Bears trap there. Poor Shane Lowry implodes consecutive tee shots into the water and not even close. Like amateur misses from a player that great. When I see that, Blake, I just find myself recoiling into like a prenatal position, because if he can look that bad, and of course on national television with millions watching, what chance do the rest of us have at this sport? He just wasn't finishing his swing, and the ball's vroom, slice, like not fade.
So much
These
mental.
were slices from a top 10, top 20 player in the world.
Thoughts are a dangerous thing in this
Oh,
game.
my
as
God, are
we
they
know,
ever.
And they clearly got to him. On the whole, for the Canadian, nobody was really tempting to win this thing. I was hoping for a top 10 for A.J. Ewart, and he finishes T13 instead. But 3 Canadians end up in the top 25.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Hughes just plodded away despite an opening around of 75. He finishes T23.
That's what he has to do.
And 24-year-old Sudarshan Yelmaraju ends up being in the top 20 at a T17 position. So the 2 kids.
And he's a PGA rookie too.
Yeah,
Yelmaraju.
the 2 kids are the best for the Canadian contingent.
Yeah. Connors continues to struggle big time. Lowry blows a 3-shot lead late to lose this thing. And best of luck to UBC's basketball teams, who are both off to the U Sport Final 8 this week. This is 1 year, of course, after the Point Grey campus became the first institution ever to host the men's and the ladies' Final 8s on the same campus at the same school together. The men are the 7th seed, and they will play number 2 Toronto Metropolitan University in the opening quarterfinal Friday from Calgary. The defending reigning champion UVic Vikings will face the host Dinos in another quarterfinal. UVic has been the top seed at this tournament 3 of the last 4 years, doing Ken Shields proud over there and sort of taking back the mantle from my Carleton Ravensblake as the number 1 men's basketball playing institution the country over. We'll see if they can repeat as champions. As for the women, kind of hard luck here for the UBC women. The defending national champions Saskatchewan Huskies suffered their first defeat of the season in the Canada West playoffs to Calgary. So instead of Saskatchewan being the number 1 overall seed, they needed the at-large berth into the tournament. They didn't automatically qualify, and that has them seeded number 5, and that means number 4 UBC gets Saskatchewan of all teams in the quarterfinals Friday from Laval.
One other basketball note I wanted to send along. And a big congratulations to the Thunder from Bella Coola.
Okay.
The 2026 girls basketball champions.
I saw the girls provincials had
1A, so the small schools.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, it's Bella Coola, so right away you're thinking, wow, it's a small town to be winning provincial championship. It gets even more incredible when you find out they had 8 players.
Excuse me?
They had 8. They didn't even have a full roster. They won a provincial championship with 8 players, on their team.
Well, population Bella Coola, 2163.
Not 21,000.
No, 2,163.
Yes. So you're already in a shallow pool of talent.
Yes.
And then you only have 8 players to begin with, and you still win the provincial championship.
You know, a lot of coaches will tell you want 12 good players for practice and to guard against injuries, but when you get down to brass tacks in the tournaments, you want a rotation of 8.
Shout out to
well done, Bella Coola.
Shout out to Patrick, a common foil for us on Twitter, who brought that to our attention.
All right.
Thank you, Patrick.
Results of the Yellow Dog poll question from Friday. We asked you, will the Canucks trade all their unrestricted free agents? This actually got a fair number of votes with a lot of spicy comments. Yes, no. Will they trade all their UFAs? What did the people say?
All. They said no.
Correct percentage?
74.
74?
Yes.
53. This poll was running 50-50 pretty much from the jump.
Really?
It was running like 51-52 early on, and then as the weekend went along and no trades were made, I think the no side of the ledger got more and more votes. James says they damn well better. Yeah, we got a lot of where's the damn well better option. Michael, they're so far away from contention. They should just accept last-minute low balls. Suleiman says hope they can get it done and trade all 3 of them balls, so hope they can move DeBrusque as well. And Ron says, I wish the answer was yes, but given their history, to be frank, a guy like Kampf might be hard to get a pick for. And in his case, you may just want to have him play out the string. Didn't see an error or an omission from Friday, so thank you for joining us. Appreciate you spending some time connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Costs you nothing. Follow on social, X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky. Live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. And, of course, please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. Keep it local.